And we're live. Hey guys, it's Bobby Legs, and welcome to tonight's topic live stream. And before we get into the topic, I want to introduce my UTC. Let's see if I get that on focus over there. And this is kind of like a little bit of a sneak preview. If you haven't seen the title of the stream, we are going to be talking about the 856. And, the genesis of this topic stream tonight was that, Ryan has recently purchased a Sinn 856. But the interesting thing is that, both Ryan and I are Sinn fanboys, but the 856 was not Ryan's first watch that he was looking at. And he got there, and I'll let him explain his process. I just want to say, hey guys, thanks for joining, and let us know what's on your wrist, and we'd love to hear that, and whatever comments you have in regards to Sinn and the 856 in particular. Yeah, Kevin, love that 856 UTC. It's a great watch. Please feel free to comment below. And we're going to try to engage with you guys, of course, as much as we can. So, Ryan, before we start our little Sinn 856 presentation, how did you get to the 856? What was the process, if you could quickly share with us?
It started out with the 556, which actually was a watch I previously, I know I discussed in the past, I hated it at first. And then somehow I fell in love with it. I saw a Blue Shark ad. It showed it on a two-piece gray fabric NATO-style strap, and I just fell in love with it. We went to a road show back in December in New York, and I tried it on, and I really loved it. I was comparing it to the 856, and I really liked the 556. I just liked the size and whatnot. And we went home, and a couple of weeks later, I ended up buying the big Pilot and just put the Sinn on hold for a while. And that was around Christmas time, and the desire to have the Sinn just crept back in, and started looking. And then I was debating, well, if I'm going to get one, should I do the 556, the 856? And ultimately, I realized I didn't have room in the collection for both the 556 A dial and the 856 A dial. And the technology is what really won the day. I decided that I couldn't give up the tech. That's really what makes the watch special for me. The dial is actually the same, but it's the Tegimented steel case, the anti-magnetic properties, the AR anti-humidity capsule. It's just those things, and I just couldn't pass that up.
Right.
And I had to go with the 856. It was a tough call, though. I really did debate it, because I could have picked up and saved myself a few bucks on the 556, but ultimately, and I'm very happy with my choice. And initially, I wasn't sure if I would have liked the grayish color steel versus the satinized stainless steel, but ultimately, I really do appreciate it. It's something unique.
Absolutely, and let me share. Ryan. I mean, this is Ryan. You can see the screen, right?
Yes.
So this is a couple of wrist shot that Ryan sent me to me, and he's got the 856 on the bracelet on your left hand side, and on the strap. That's an aftermarket strap, right? That's not a Sinn strap, I would imagine.
That's correct. That is a B&R Bands company. It's actually pretty cool. It's a waterproof strap, completely waterproof, but it almost looks like almost has like a leathery type appearance. It's kind of more formal than the typical NATO. So I bought it for that purpose, because it could be dual purpose.
Right. And then here is my 856 UTC, and I keep it on the bracelet. I really like the bracelet. The one negative I would have to say about the bracelet is the clasp. The clasp is not the greatest clasp in the world, but you know what? That's maybe later on in the conversation. But we just want to give you guys a little bit of a couple of wrist shots here on Ryan's 856 and my 856. And I think maybe this might be a good time then Emmy to jump in with some of the specs.
Sure.
So the great thing about this watch, it has the dimensions are perfect for my wrist, and I'm a 6 3/4 inch wrist. Ryan, are you 6 3/4 inch as well?
We are exactly the same.
Same, yeah, right. So you have both watches have a 40 millimeter case diameter. It's about 11 millimeters case thickness. The lug to lug is little over, hair over 47 millimeters. I measured with the calipers today again. The lug width is 20. What's great about this watch is that you have, it's a pilot watch, right? It's a flight watch, but you get the nice 200-meter water resistance. Ryan's is on powered by the Salida 300, and mine is the ETA 93, which is has that GMT or UTC functionality with it. And very comfortable on wrist, these watches, right, Ryan? I mean, like, this fits so well.
Extremely comfortable.
And what I like about the dial layout, right, is that it's so legible. Like, when I look down at my wrist, like, I know what time it is as soon as I watch it. And that's what watches are made for, right? To tell time. And so I really like the legibility, which is, more and more that I'm collecting now is more and more important to me. Other than, like, it doesn't really matter, like, it has crazy complications or whatnot. The fact that if I could read it is super, super important. What do you think about the dimensions, Ryan?
It's interesting because when I first got it, I have to say I had the big pilot on my wrist for so long now, and it's huge. It's 46 millimeter case, and it wears big, and I've gotten very accustomed to it. I do have, most of my watches are, I have a sub that's 40 millimeters, and my Super Ocean's, I think, 40 or 42. But having this on my wrist for so long, when I put the 856 on, it felt a little small.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I had it for a little bit and I've been wearing it, and I realize it's really perfect, and it's incredibly, it's just so comfortable, and it's so thin. You barely notice it that it's on your wrist, but the legibility is for the size. It's amazing because it's so crisp. The way that they spaced out on this case, the dial is just perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, it's so legible, even with, for my watch specifically, even with the UTC complication in there, it's still very easily read. Now, going back to, how it wears, and you were touching how comfortable it is, that bracelet almost feels like it's like draped over the wrist, and it feels so comfortable. And I know you're not a bracelet guy.
Well, I tell you the truth, I really enjoyed the bracelet, and what happened was I ended up seeing that B&R band strap. I wasn't I knew I was going to put it on straps eventually. I didn't think it was going to happen so quickly, but I saw that strap and fell in love with it, so I had to buy it. But it's so easy. That's one of the other things with the drilled lugs, makes it so easy to change that even for myself, who's sort of technically challenged when it comes to these types of tasks, believe me, putting this Santoni strap on the big pilot was like 45 minutes. I don't want to talk about it, but this was incredibly easy. So it's something that it'll be a pleasure to change out the straps. And that was one of the reasons I really wanted it too, was that the watch is just like a chameleon. It could be so many different things. But the bracelet was really beautiful. It was, I mean, I used it to row. I mean, I used it to work out, and it felt fantastic on the wrist. It really did. I would say it rivals the bracelet of my Rolex in comfort. It really does. It's because of the finish on it. It's something about it. It's very smooth and silky on the wrist.
No, I totally agree. Let's see what people are wearing. And Cardinal J, in the spirit of our conversation is wearing his 104 green dial. Thank you for participating. Ken is wearing his NTH Barracuda Brown. That's a pretty cool watch. I had a chance to review an NTH recently, and good quality micro brand for sure.
Yes.
Peter C, G-Shock 5600, classic. I was wearing my G-Shock early in the morning this morning, and then I switched over to the Zen, as I do switch watches on a daily basis. I'm sure, Ryan, you're doing that a lot too.
Absolutely.
And then let's see here. Colin, Winding Watches, wearing his Glajut Original Panomatic Lunar. You have the Pano Reserve.
Correct.
So you guys are in solidarity with your Glajut Original, and his watch is a beauty. Would love to buy that off of him one day. We'll see. we'll see. Yeah, it may or may be gone before that. I don't know. Anyway, so getting back to the technology piece, let me see if I could share my other part of the PowerPoint here. Just bear with me. And so here we have, as you can see, right, the technologies that are offered in this watch, and you have that Tegimented technology that helps, makes it very scratch resistant, which is one of the key things for me. I have a couple of kids. You have one. We're always, roughhousing or just, chasing after the kids if they're running around and doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. And so I try to be easy on my watches, but there are times when I'm just absent-minded and I'm hitting a doorway. You know what I mean?
If you own a watch, you've hit a door. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. But I want to try to mitigate as much damage, and I feel like I've knocked around this watch quite a bit, and it's holding up pretty good, Ryan. What can I say? And I think you'll find that out, because I think yours, and you can maybe talk a little bit about this. I feel yours is like one of the better everyday watches out there in this range, in this price range here. What do you think?
I think it's really such an ideal watch. I got, and one of the other reasons I really bought this was, my Submariner is a two-tone, and that's the watch I pretty much wear on bracelet. And I don't always want to wear a two-tone watch. Granted, it's the bluesy, so it's a little more fun, but sometimes I just don't want to wear gold, but I do want to wear a bracelet. And
yeah.
My Breitling, I took off the bracelet, and I'm much happier with the Super Ocean on NATOs and stuff. But I wanted something that could serve double duty, and I could throw it on with a suit, and it would just look good. And it really, and then I realized, though, that I don't even care, because I just love this watch, and I'm going to use it as much as possible.
Yeah.
But it really can serve, and it looks sharp. Honestly, I've had it on. I did put it on for some Zoom court sessions with the suit, and it looks really cool. The bracelet is unique. And I did happen to see one guy in court, of all things, a prosecutor, who they usually don't have the fancy watches, or usually not. And he had on, I forgot which version it was, but it was Tegimented, and it is a very unique look.
Yeah.
But it's funny, because depending on the lighting, sometimes it really looks like a regular stainless steel, and sometimes it looks much darker.
Or like sometimes it even looks like a titanium watch, right? Because it kind of has that same kind of silver hue to it.
Yeah, sometimes it's in my house. I notice, especially, it could appear really dark, and I almost got a little nervous at first. I'm like, "Is this real?" Because I don't have great lighting in my living room, so it looked much darker. Yeah. And then I took some pictures outside, and it looked right, but it really does. The coloring is almost like a sunburst dial, how it just changes. It really does. Like even if you look at this picture, yours looks a little bit lighter than mine in this picture.
So, yeah, and that could be just the way
it's just lighting.
It's lighting. Sure. But I hear you. I gotta share with you, and I think I've shared with you this before, and probably in the review of the watch. One of the main reasons why I selected the 856 UTC. Now I knew I was going to get a Sinn, right? And Kevin is basically touching exactly on what my thinking was here. I wanted to get a watch that I can take with me when I go traveling. Now, I don't do much traveling, especially now. But I mean, but in the year, in the last year or so, I haven't done much traveling. I had this fantasy that I'm going to get back into traveling, and maybe I will. But why would I? I mean, I don't know. Like, people love, for example, the Rolex GMT. Beautiful watch, awesome. But I'd be scared to go anywhere with that watch traveling overseas. I like the Sinn 856 UTC because it's under the radar, right? Nobody, it doesn't, it could go, it could fit. It's so thin, it could fit right under your sleeve. And when they see it, nobody's gonna pay 2 seconds thought on that watch, right? And it's tough. It's got all that, the Tegimented technology, the anti-magnetic technology, the anti-humidity technology. It has all that kind of stuff, and it's like the last thing I need to worry about. Just tell me the time, and then tell me the time back home. And I think that's what the biggest attraction for me it was.
Yeah. So now that I have it, and there was a point when I was like, oh, maybe I should get the UTC. But now that I have, the non-UTC version, I have now considered getting the UTC as well. But if I did do it, I know Jay will, hopefully our buddy Jay won't be pissed because I know he wants the all black dial version too,
Yeah,
the PVD
the
case.
PVD. Yeah,
So but I could see myself getting that now and throwing it on NATO because it looks killer. I mean, that with
yeah,
a black strap, you can't beat that. So I could see myself down the line purchasing that as well.
yeah,
I'm a big Zinn fanboy anyway,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and for the look, it's not cheap watch by any means, but for the price, you get a lot.
I think so, and I think that goes back to German watches being in this category, in this price range, right? And it's always weird talking about price range, but it is what it is. So in this price range compared to their Swiss and Japanese counterparts, I think you get a lot of punch. Now, look, you're going to have like an ETA movement or a Solita movement. Fine. Do they do a few things to the movements to soup it up a little bit? Maybe, maybe not. But everything else around it, right, is great tech, and there's transparency. There's transparency on their website. They tell you what movements they're going to use, right, and they tell you everything else about the watch. And I really, really appreciate that, and that's why Zinn is in the top tier of watches for me.
They have a very good reputation, and it's a solid movement regardless. I really can't complain. I'm not
Yeah,
looking. I don't necessarily need for this purpose. I'm buying it to be a tool.
right.
A Rolex is a separate. It's just a different category of watch altogether. But I bought this for a very specific reason, and it's something that I can wear every day, and I don't have to think as much about it. I know it's really something that's going to stand up,
Yeah,
and I don't have to be as I'm not super careful with the Rolex either, but it's just different. And exactly, I've traveled a lot too, and truthfully, I left the Rolex at home. I mean,
yeah,
I wore the Breitling, just it was less money, I guess, so I didn't have to worry as much. But God forbid something happened, even though I had insurance. But the point being, looking back, it's flashy. It was on the polished bracelet, but this has no bezel. It
yeah,
really is a totally under the radar watch, and no one think twice, especially if it's on a NATO. And the
yeah.
beautiful thing is, I could put it back in 2 seconds onto the bracelet if I wanted to on vacation, but I probably wouldn't.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
just no reason to. But yeah, I mean, and I've grown accustomed to not having a bezel now too, from wearing the big Pilot, and
Hmm.
one of the things I've noticed is it allows for a little more space and spreading things out on the dial more. It just doesn't seem as compressed.
Absolutely.
Um, and it really, the legibility alone is what
Yeah.
really, really makes it special. It's just having uh, clean space with the indices spread out far enough where you
Mm-hmm.
could really discern. And comparing it to like telling time on my Super Ocean, it's night and day because,
Yeah, right.
I really can't. I could come close to giving a precise time with the Breitling, but if I look at it quickly, it's not. I'm coming like within 1 or 2 minutes. But here, it's very clear exactly what
Yeah.
the time is. And speaking of this movement, by the way, Rob, I've just been loosely tracking it against an app, and
Yeah.
it's really not gaining or losing very much
Yeah.
since I've been tracking it. So I guess, Zinn does a pretty good job of regulating the movement before
Yeah.
they send it out the door.
You would think, definitely, for sure. Now, Winding Watch is thinking about getting a Tegimented U50. Colin, if you get a chance, look up my friend Pete, his channel, Chilling with Watches. He actually just put out a video today unboxing a U50 Tegimented, and it looks great. And um, you know that watch, and let me touch on what Kevin's saying here. He's thinking about a U50 or an 856 UTC. Now,
Tough call.
Kevin, you can find that 856 UTC in the pre-owned market, just like I did, for significantly less than what you're going to pay for it new. Now that the new prices on Zinn have gone up, so I would look into pre-owned. You may not have too much of a choice now since the U50 just came out to get a pre-owned. But that is an excellent watch too, just dimensions wise. Now we talked about this in a video a few months back, Ryan, when the U50 came out. That case is actually thinner than my Black Bay 58
It's
case.
amazing.
It's amazing. It is amazing.
Making that video completely changed my mind about that watch. It went from
Yeah.
thinking it was just bad to saying, wow, I think I really love this. And now that I have, it's really the same thickness because it's the same movement as the 856. It's an SW300 because it's a thinner movement. So
Hmm.
it is, you know, it's a diver. It's a proper diver that truly fits under the cuff. And I could easily see myself buying that, the fully tegimented, but the black.
Yeah.
Um, I could definitely see myself doing it because I just love how it looks on the red silicone strap.
Hmm.
And the black as well. It looks like a great watch.
It does. It does. I would, if I wasn't so dive heavy in my collection right now, I would have purchased it already. I would have purchased the U50. Um,
Wait a year or so, it'll probably become available. You know, it's one of those things. It's still a newer release, but in about a
mhm.
year or so, when you might get a little more bored, you'll probably be able to pick one up for a
Maybe,
few bucks. So,
yeah, yeah, maybe. And I'll never say never. And just because I'm a little dive heavy on my collection now, maybe I'm just a dive watch guy. I don't know. I try to be more diversified, but I tend to go with dive watch. And the thing about the U50, it is so unique looking. Like it doesn't look like any other diver that I have. Right? It has those block hour and minute hands, and
the
then
Lego
and
hands.
it's the Lego hands that used to drive me nuts when I first saw it. Now I love them. And I could definitely have both those watches, the U50 and the 856 in my collection. Zinn is one of those few brands that I don't mind. I can get over the hurdle of brand diversity in my collection. I could collect multiple Zinns for sure.
One of the guys who I've met from Facebook, from the Zen group, basically he is a Sin nut. He's got like every 556 variety that's out
That's
there,
nuts.
and
Yeah.
and
Wow. Yeah.
at some point I'm like, oh, does it make sense? But then you look at it, it's like, wow, you know what? I didn't even really like the 556i, but now I really do.
Yeah.
Something about it has grown on me, and I could see down the line perhaps adding it, just because they're so beautiful. And again, for the price, they're really not too bad, especially on the secondhand market. The Snowflake and the Lego.
Yeah, Colin's right. I mean, I'm all about the hands. Snowflake, I hated the Tudor Snowflake hands, and now I own two Black Bays. Lego, I hated the U1 Lego hands, and now I would definitely, buy one if, like I said, if I wasn't so dive watch heavy.
I
Um,
remember both of us discussing how we both hated the Lego hands back when we first reconnected and started talking about watches again.
yeah.
And here we are now, completely 180.
Totally 180. But that's the amazing thing about watches and life in general. Like my initial thoughts are not always the correct thoughts, right? That I need people to bounce things off to make sure that I'm not crazy or that I'm thinking right. And that's the thing. Like over the course of the year, me and you have been talking about German watches and Zinn in particular, and so together our tastes have kind of like morphed and changed a little bit over that year. I think for the better. And so something like a Zinn, I would buy any Zinn in the collection right now, in their collection. I think that I would have no problem if I had the money. If you told me to throw a dart at their collection and you have to buy that watch, I would do it in a second.
I agree. There's nothing in the line that I wouldn't want to have. I mean, there's things I like better than others, but might be like one that I don't particularly care for. But that's about it. I mean, generally they're all fantastic, though,
Yeah.
just for the build quality itself,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
Well, Ryan, tonight there was a whole lot of love for Zinn between me and you, and a whole lot of love for the Zinn 856. I'm glad you picked it up. I can't wait to actually get my hands on it so I can do a face-to-face review on it and compare it right next to my Zinn 856 UTC. I think that would be make a great review video. But when times change, or when this whatever we're going through these days, works itself out, I'm sure we'll get together and I'll get to review a lot of your watches, which I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
But guys, thanks for stopping in. We just wanted to make a quick video about the Zinn 856 and express our love for the brand and this particular model. Hopefully we'll do more of these, Ryan and I, and hopefully you guys will come and sit down and talk to us. We'd appreciate it.
I guess I'm gonna have to start buying more Zinns.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Well, I have the Guinot coming. I finally got some word about them doing the testing, and that's going to be another video. Guinot, I'll just tease you guys a little bit. Guino, after Helmut Zinn retired and sold Zinn, he took over Guino and moved them from Switzerland to Germany, and so that was his retirement project, was Guino. And so a lot of their models, you'll take a look at it and be like, oh man, that looks like a Zinn. So anyway, guys, thank you. Have a good night, Ryan. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys soon in another video or live stream. Take care.
Take care. Good night.